You got to make the morning last, just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. I'm feeling groovy, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Hello lamppost, what you knowin'? I come to watch your flowers growin'. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? A doo-doo-doo-doo, feeling groovy, I'm feeling groovy, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. I got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy and ready to sleep. Let the morning time drop all its petals on me. Life, I love ya, all is groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. I'm feeling groovy. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last, just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. I'm feeling groovy, feeling groovy, I'm feeling groovy, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy.
Hello, everybody. We're always. No, you before you. No, after you. Hi, everybody. We are here, and we are excited to be here today and to be able to sing some songs for you and to talk a little bit. We're not tributing one specific band today, but all three of the oldies we're going to do are duos.
Yeah, they're duos, which were not very popular really in the 60s. Of course, the biggest, the best, whatever you want to call them, the ones that are most relate to would be the Everly Brothers, and we've done an Everly Brothers show, and we do a lot of Everly Brothers songs. And they were a little bit different in that they were from Tennessee, so they had a little bit of a country flavor in their background, and brought that into rock and roll. And they were atypical of what we're talking about. They were, two guitars and two singers. The first song we did there, of course, was I'll put a link to this one later. You can see it performed by Simon and Garfunkel, which were sort of like that. They had one guitar and two singers. But the other groups are going to do, the other couple groups are going to do, we're going to do another Peter and Gordon and then a Chad and Jeremy song. And they were two guitars and two singers. And that was a little unusual, particularly because the bands just came into style. When the Beatles came, you had to have a band pretty much. And the duos were... They were terribly close to folk music. And in fact, if the British invasion hadn't hit, those kind of groups could have possibly made it anyway as folk singers. But they did do more than just their guitars and songs. You listen to the records, and when they went into the studio, they had studio musicians playing, and so it made them sound like a band. And some of them were singer-songwriters, some of them were just singers, and some of them had success after that, some didn't. As when we talked about Peter and Gordon, how Peter Asher became a producer, and Chad and Jeremy they had only three hits really in America, and they kind of faded. But about 20 years later or so, Dee and I saw them perform one time with a band, and man, they were good. They were so good. And they were very contemporary. They weren't a nostalgia act or anything. So some of these guys had a lot of talent, and still didn't survive through 64, 5, 6, that era right there. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. We did our Simon and Garfunkel song for the night, and we'll be doing a couple more. So I don't know if you want to say anything else or.
No, on to the next song.
Oh.
Woohoo!
Okay, the next song was as I mentioned, Chad and Jeremy. They really only had three hits in America, but they were super talented. And you can see them if you have Netflix and you want to see them. You can go on Netflix and go through the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I should maybe I'll try to see if I can find.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
The exact link to at least tell you what the episode was. I think it's like maybe in the first or second season, Dick Van Dyke Show was on, and they did a show where they had Chad and Jeremy on as a couple of British singers, which they were. They didn't call them Chad and Jeremy, but they had them on there, and I'm sure the directors told them, try to act like Beatles, and so they were trying to do goofy stuff and act like Beatles. But they were very talented, and we get good response when we play Chad and Jeremy songs. So here's the first one.
I did think of one thing I wanted to say about this song. A summer song. I think it's really cool that we're doing this song now because this next week the kids are going back to school. It's the end of summer where we are. Now, when we grew up in California, school didn't start till September. But here, school starts in the middle of August. And so for all of you kids out there that are listening, you can cry big tears, but summer's over. It's time to go back to school.
And if this is the first time you've heard this song, maybe it'll be like me. I remember the first time I did this song. It was actually I heard this song. It was like the first day of school, and I was sitting down to eat breakfast and had the radio on while I was eating breakfast, and this song came on. So it does remind me of going back to school. Which, if any of you are like me, that's not necessarily a good thing, but gotta do it. Or else. There you go. That one was Chad and Jeremy. Chad Stewart and Jeremy Clyde. Wow, four first names: Chad, Stewart, Jeremy, and Clyde.
Hey,
they were
been a Fab Four.
That's right. They were a Fab Four after all. Now this next song, I guess she's waiting for me to say something.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
you're the trivia guy.
Yeah, but I'm gonna change guitars.
Oh, okay.
So I'll say something about it in a minute. But if you want to,
Well, one of the
fill in
things
for a blank.
that's significant about all three of these songs is that there is hardly a gig that we have as Bongo on the Point where we don't do at least one or two of these songs. They're very popular, very upbeat. 59th Street Bridge song is a great opener. It's just very happy and lilting, and these are really great songs to start off with. At least the first two, because they're just great songs to kind of let an audience get to know you a little bit.
This one is a song that was recorded by Peter and Gordon. Peter and Gordon, as I've mentioned when we did our tribute to Peter and Gordon, had a big advantage over Chad Stewart, Jeremy Clyde, or any of the other duos. They were well, Peter Asher was the brother to Jane Asher, who was Paul McCartney's girlfriend at the time. So they had access to some great material, which helped out. But by the time they got to this song, they didn't, I don't know why, they didn't do any, I don't know if Lennon and McCartney weren't writing songs for him anymore, or they just wanted to go on to other things. But they did this song, which was a song written by somebody you might have known for doing songs like Runaway and Hats Off to Larry. It was Del Shannon. Del Shannon was a good songwriter too, and which is why he had his own successful career. And so this was a song written by him, for them, as I understand it from when I've heard is that they were looking for songs, and he says he wrote this for them. And it's a cool song. It's not as upbeat. It's a little bit more of a sad song, but it's okay. It's a cool song, and this was also by Peter and Gordon. So we're gonna try this one for you. Let me see if I can get a little more out of this guitar. Okay, here we go.
It's called "I Go to Pieces."
When I see her walking down the street, I get so shaky and I feel so weak. I tell my eyes look the other way, but they don't seem to hear a word I say. And I go to pieces and I wanna hide. I go to pieces and I almost die every time my baby passes by. Tell my arms they'll hold someone new, another love that will be true. They don't listen, they don't seem to care. They reach for her, but she's not there. And I go to pieces and I wanna hide. Go to pieces and I almost die every time my baby passes by. I remember what she said when she said goodbye, baby. We'll meet again soon, maybe. But until we do, all my best to you. I'm so lonely, think about her only. I go to places we used to go, but I know she'll never show. She hurt me so much inside. Now I hope she's satisfied. And I go to pieces and I wanna hide. Go to pieces and I almost die every time my baby passes by. I go to pieces and I cry every time my baby passes by. I go to pieces and
All right, short but sweet. That's our tribute for tonight, which was the '60s duos, some of them anyway.
Yes, some of the ones that we play the most and the best. We're gonna do in a minute. We're gonna do one of our songs that is actually on our Lost album, the Lost Sparrow album, called "Help Is on the Way." And the title of the song is "Only Help Me."
Which, by the way, I don't know if we've ever played it since since we recorded it. We've never really played this song. It's one of those songs we had to pull out and dust off because we never really did this song.
And I'm really glad we did, because as we were working on it and practicing it, as Jim was doing tracks for it,
Had to redo all the tracks, of course.
yeah, I just remembered how significant it was to me when we wrote it. I remember we were leading a team in Victoria, Texas, when and we had some kind of clunky old piano when I sort of got the first idea for this song, and it became something, as what usually happens with Jim and I in our partnership and our collaboration. A song, an idea for a song comes, and if it's my idea, then when we get together to work on it, then after we're done with it, I can't play it anymore. It's become something something completely different, which
Yes, and I do add different chords sometimes.
and I'm really happy about that, because I'm just, I would plod along as the 3 or 4 chord piano player or guitar player, and I'm idea driven and melody driven, and so our skill levels and what motivates us. And Tina, this is for you, because you're the one who asked about getting glimpses into our creative process. For us, it's really all about the collaboration. There is hardly anything that comes out of either one of us, except for maybe Jim's instrumentals, that isn't mutated and evolved and changed. And one of the great things about that is that sometimes a thing can become greater than the sum of its parts. It can become something that I could have never accomplished on my own. And I think that's awesome. And the downside is that once I've given it over, then I become completely dependent. And there's lots of ideas out there. I've spent the last over 40 years journaling and writing, and I have lyrics and ideas, and probably most of them will never become songs. There's probably not enough time left in our lives to make that happen, especially with all that the Lord has us doing now. But the great thing about that, and the reason I don't mind at all, is because most of these songs have been birthed out of prayer. They've been birthed out of stuff I was going through or we were going through in our lives together. And a lot of times they are just cries of my heart that are very real at the time. And so singing these songs, a lot of the ones that have become, that are synergistic like this, and we don't get to sing a lot afterwards, is because technology has just now caught up. For us, just now caught up. Our ability to access technology and use technology has been growing over the years, and I think we're finally at a place where we can do some of these songs live because of the computer and because of Jim being able to do stuff in the studio and us being able to do it then live with the use of our iPad and all that kind of stuff. We're able to do songs that we really never had the heart to do before, because we couldn't do them justice by just singing them with a guitar.
I thought you were going to tell a different story.
I was, but this just kind of came out.
Okay.
And
Well,
so Only Help Me was one of those songs where it just began as just this thing running through my head that that became the kind of like the hook, and but it was a real cry of my heart, and I'll try to make this short, and let's see what we got for time. Not much. It's okay.
Sponsors don't care.
Even though it wasn't written during this time, it was written somewhat after. This song reminds me of a time when we were on a team that went to Edmonton, Alberta, and we went with this team, and I think we've talked about this before, multiple years. We went there once before we were married. The year we got engaged, we went there once as newlyweds. We went there once when Fawn was a baby, and each time it was with a little bit different team. And I think it was the first year we were there. We pulled into Edmonton, Alberta, and we were setting up and kind of getting acclimated to the place where we're going to be doing ministry there at the fairgrounds.
I think it was after we were married.
This was after we were married?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
At some point during the process after we got there,
either way, it's like 40 years ago or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A long time ago. We were met by a group of young Christians who were in kind of a desperate situation. Among them was
we being the team.
The team. One of these that met with us was a young girl who had been the high priestess of a coven and had given her heart to the Lord and fled from the situation she was in. And there was a group of Christians who were trying to, young Christians who were trying to shelter her and protect her. And one of the things that they told us was that she pretty much had to sleep in a different place every night because the coven she had been a part of had the ability to find her spiritually. And
they could spiritually find her physical location.
Right. Yeah. She was tormented and full of fear, apparently for good reason, because they told us that 5 people had already been murdered in an effort to keep her safe. And
no, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like the Christians were doing the murdering. You're talking about... yeah.
No. Okay. How can I say this to where it's really what it sounds like? 5 of the Christians that were trying to protect her had been murdered. Her friends of hers that were the Lord that had been murdered by the coven.
Yeah.
And so they were all in a pretty frantic and desperate situation. And so they brought this girl to us, and I don't know what leadership did or said, but all I know is that during the time that we were there, that we were taking care of and watching and counseling and praying with this very young woman.
And she was like, during the show, what we did 2 15-minute shows, twice an hour, one at the top of the hour, one at the bottom hour. Then the other 15 minutes were open for witnessing and talking to people. So that went from 11 in the morning till 12 at night. So this girl would be sitting on, she was there with us, and she would be sitting on the front row of we were just set up on hay bales. We had hay bales for seats. So she would be sitting on the front row of the hay bales during the shows.
So a lot of prayer went into how we were supposed to help her, what we're supposed to do. We knew we couldn't stay there forever. So we weren't, a lot was unknown, especially to me. But one thing that I was a part of was in kind of rotation. Somebody was always supposed to be watching her, making sure that she was there, making sure that she hadn't disappeared, and making sure that someone wasn't trying to harm her or somebody else around her. And so one particular day, it was my turn to be making sure I knew where she was at all times. And we were doing this thing that Jim says, we were singing and then coming down and witnessing and then getting back up and doing another show and then coming down and mingling and then doing this rotation. And as I was singing, out of the corner of my eye, I saw that she was getting really, really agitated.
During one of our sets we're talking about.
And during one of the sets, she wasn't looking backwards. She was looking up at us. But suddenly she got up and ran into a building, a Quonset hut that was right next to the stage where
it was part of our booth area too. We kept that we had anyway.
So it was a little awkward because I was supposed to be singing right then, but I was also supposed to be helping and keeping an eye on her. And so I inched my way off the stage and went into the Quonset hut, and I found her in a corner, huddled, like in a fetal position, kind of crying and saying, "They're here, they're here." And
this is right near the end of the set. I think it may have been at the point where we had finished the last song, and so the singers would get down, the band would stay up just playing kind of background music.
So we were, you have to realize that we were very young. I was 20 years old, or maybe 19, depending on which year this happened. And as I stood there, realizing that she somehow had a sense that she had been found by these people.
Well, she told you that. She said, "They're here. They're here."
Yeah. Of course, in the natural, I had no clue what to do. But as my heart kind of cried out to God for help, suddenly this anger, this holy anger, just sort of fell on me. And I started getting, and I'm pretty easygoing most of the time. And so this kind of rage, this kind of anger just enveloped me. And the next thing I knew, I heard myself saying, "You stay right here. I will take care of this." And how I knew what to do or where to go, I didn't know. I think she might have said "They're at the back of the crowd."
Yeah, she said "They're."
So I bolted out of the door of the Quonset hut. On the corner, there was this pole, like a metal pole, light pole. I grabbed that, swung out around it, and hit the aisle between the hay bales where the people had been sitting, and Jim and the rest of the band were still there. And I just, I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I wasn't even really thinking. I was just really ticked. And so I started running full speed towards the back of the crowd. And as I looked up and was running, sure enough, there was a bunch, maybe a dozen or so, hooded figures standing at the back of the crowd. And but I just kept running. I kept running down the aisle straight for them. And literally, I was running as fast as I could. Before I could get there, they had scattered in a dozen different directions, running.
And when I saw this, of course, I quickly took off my guitar and I went running down to see, because I didn't know what was going on. I saw these characters and I saw her running at them. And then by the time I could put down my guitar and get to the back of the thing, they were nowhere to be seen. And we're talking long, these are long aisles of where people are and stuff, and there was just people everywhere, but these guys just seemed to have vanished.
And for the rest of the time we were there, we were still vigilant, we were still prayerful, but we never had that sense of darkness and foreboding. And when we left, leadership had found another group, maybe, I don't know if it was out in the country somewhere or something, that was really filled with the Holy Spirit and had experience dealing with similar things. And
Into the mic.
That was the last time we ever saw her. Hopefully, she is still serving the Lord somewhere. And it was just one of those times where the results were completely out of proportion to our natural ability, to where it wasn't a matter of deciding what to do. It was a matter of just being available to God. And I really believe that the Holy Spirit, whether it's in healing or power over darkness or the ability to communicate God's love with people, that there is help there for us, an anointing there for us. But it only comes when we really very clearly acknowledge the fact that we got nothing without him. And even though this song, as I wrote it, the lyrics didn't end up being exactly from my experience, because I got saved very young and was walking with the Lord, had been walking with the Lord a long time by the time I wrote this song. Still, it was a combination of my heart and the heart of a lot of the kids on the street, that what they communicated with us, and the desperation they had for God, because they realized that nothing else in this world was half so wonderful as he was.
Okay, so now we're going to try this one, and keep in mind, we never did this before live, and we're going to see if we can remember how it goes, who sings which parts, and so on. And so we're going to give it a try. This one's called If You'll Only Help Me.
I believe in love, though I don't know why for sure, 'cause I've never seen it, at least I've never seen it work. Something deep inside says it shouldn't be this way, so I thought I'd come to you, see what you would say.
And if you tell me what it is I need, then I would crawl and get it on my knees, and I will be what you want me to be, if you'll only help me.
You are all I want. It's taken me a while to say it truthfully. There is no one else I have ever known who kept on loving me. I believe in love, but it's nothing like I thought it would be.
And though I never have seen your face, I know that no one could ever take your place, and I will gladly run this race, if you'll only help me.
Well, there you have it.
That's it. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Get your friends to subscribe and help us climb up the YouTube ladder, and like us and all that
I
stuff.
want to shout out to Doris Thamert in Wisconsin, who's been giving our cards to everyone she meets everywhere she goes. Doris, we love you very much.
And you can tell your friends. It's Jim and D. It's youtube.com/Jim and D Patton. If you don't have the YouTube card that we passed out, so that's all there is to it. All right, thank you guys. Good night.
Good night.